Hey, thanks for dropping by and checking out this message. These lessons come from our Sunday gatherings at Victory Christian Church in Franklin, Indiana. Our 5th through 8th graders meet at 9 or 10:30 a.m. and our high schoolers meet from 6 to 8 p.m. If you find that this content brings value to your life, then please consider subscribing and hitting that bell so that you can be notified when we upload our next message. Our hope is that this video brings more clarity into your life as to who God is and what He wants for you in light of who Jesus is and what He's done for you. Enjoy and have a great day. We're going to start a brand new series that is none of your business. No, I'm just kidding. It's what the series we're calling this month is none of your business. And the reason we're calling it this is because the topic of today's discussion and for the rest of this month is something that we often feel is none of anybody else's business, right? And here's the reality. There's definitely been times in my life, and I know there's been times in your life, where you feel like people ask you questions and you just want to reply, none of your business, right? None of your stinking beeswax, right? Actually, I have a funny story from when I was in 6th grade. Where are my 6th graders at? Oh yeah, can I get a whoop whoop? Okay, that was kind of pathetic. We'll work on that. But for my story, I need some reenactment because it just makes the story better. So I need one guy that is as good looking as myself, because you're going to play me in this story. Oh, all the hands went down. No, I'm just kidding. Landon, why don't you come on up? Come on up. That's because they're more humble. I like that. And I need one female to come up. I saw your hand first, so I want you to come over here. And actually, Evan, can you bring me the wig that's back there? Because I need that for my story. Because I want you guys to truly get the gist of this story. And I'm going to try not to spill this coffee while I move this table. Okay, thank you. This is beautiful. This is going to make my story so much better, okay? So in the story, you're me, and don't worry, you don't have to wear the wig because you don't have long hair in this story. You are Michelle, okay? Everybody say hi, Michelle. Hi, Michelle. Now, Michelle, when I was in 6th grade, Michelle was my honey. I wished, right? She was the girl that I liked, and I had liked for a little while, and people knew it, okay? Just one of those awkward things that you have feelings, but you don't want to say anything, and then people know anyway because you act strange around them, and then it's just life. So in the story, I'm going to be my good friend Brianna, and in this story, yeah, I should have told her that. That would have been a good comeback. Brianna was what I like to call a master manipulator when I was in 6th grade. And see, Brianna did this thing that girls do sometimes. And so for this little part of the story, you guys are at your lockers. It's between classes, the bell rings, everybody goes, and they're getting their stuff out of their lockers. Back then, we didn't have computers or Chromebooks or iPads or anything, so we had to actually get our big old ginormous textbooks out for every class and lug them around in our backpacks. And so we were at our lockers, so pretend you're getting stuff out of your lockers. And Brianna goes, "Hey Zach, do you still like Michelle?" To which I wanted to say,
none of your business.
It's none of your business. So to which I said, none of your business. And at this point in time, she goes, "Hi Michelle," and walks away before Michelle turns to see who called her name. So me being in this conversation with Brianna goes, what are you doing? Looks over, and Michelle looks at me, and I look at Michelle, and this awkward shut the locker and run away, right? So it was one of those moments that I did not like Brianna very much because she knew exactly what she was doing, and she had planned it out in advance, and I was just catching up. By the time I realized what she was doing, and we made that awkward eye contact, and I look, and Brianna's halfway down the hallway to her next class. I'm like, wow, thanks a lot. None of you do that. That's mean. It's rude, okay? I'm scarred for life. Okay, give these guys a round of applause. Good job. So So it was one of those moments, I just want to say, none of your business. It doesn't matter. I'm in 6th grade, I don't need a girlfriend. Although I really wanted a girlfriend, I just couldn't get a girlfriend. And more like my parents were like, you don't need a girlfriend. So I was a rule follower, so I followed the rules. Like, I don't need a girlfriend, but I can have a special friend, right? You guys, anyway. So yeah, that's what I called it. Of course, that means something else nowadays, and can't say that now. But that was what we called it back then. We were friends, whatever you call it, right? When you're just talking, but you're talking with intention, right? Or maybe you're texting your boo, and you're just bringing up casual things like, hey, on that homework assignment, did you take notes on this part? Hey, by the way, how's your day going? And I want to know everything about your life, right? You guys get those texts or send those texts, and you guys know what it's like. And then sometimes girls are creeped out. They're like, none of your business how my day is, and you don't need to know anything else about me than you already do. I don't have my notes. Goodbye. Good day, sir. Right? No. So, we're going to be talking about a topic today that we tend to be like, that's none of your business, right? It doesn't matter what you think on the subject or what I'm doing with the subject because it's my life, right? But here's the thing: the topic we're going to talk about for today, for the next month, is something that, it's not everybody's business. Okay? Just disclaimer: this is not everybody's business, but it should be somebody's business. It shouldn't be something that you keep to yourself, in other words. It should be something that you have somebody, perhaps an adult or somebody older and wiser than you, maybe an older sibling if you got that kind of relationship with your older siblings, and somebody that you can talk to and be open about these kinds of things. And the truth is, sometimes it's awkward, sometimes it's going to feel funny, it's going to be weird, because we kind of make this topic all weird and stuff. But we need to be able to have somebody that knows our business when it comes to this area. Otherwise, that's where the enemy attacks. He attacks the awkward and the silence, and when we think that we shouldn't be talking, that's when we find ourselves in trouble. Because you know other thoughts other than your own, what you see on TV, and what your friends talk about. And let's be honest, that's not a good barometer for making decisions and coming to a conclusion on how you feel about something. So the topic that we're going to be talking is sex. So everybody just get the giggles out. We're going to talk about sex, okay? There we go. Yeah, there's some giggles. Okay, this is awkward and it's funny. We do it every year, but it's still funny and awkward because here's the reality. Everybody else is talking about this, and we actually think that God had a really cool plan and design when he created this. And so it would be kind of dumb and irresponsible if we as Jesus followers did not talk about the way that Jesus intended for us to follow when it comes to this topic. So everybody buckle in, get ready for a fun ride, because this is going to be a fun month that will be none of your business, but somebody's business. But here's the reality. We believe that church should be the safest place and the best place to talk about everything, including topics of sex and sexuality. Because you guys are getting to the age where this becomes more and more important in your life. It just does. Whether it's part of more conversations that are happening in the school hallways, whether it's something that's posted about, whether it's something that's joked about, whether it's something that is shown in movies or whatever it is, this becomes a bigger part of your world. And, traditionally, this has been an awkward subject in church because it either goes one or two ways. One, it either becomes taboo, oh, we don't talk about that. That's uncomfortable, right? How many of you gotten that vibe before? We don't bring this up, right? Or when we bring it up, it's all negative. And it's it's bad and it's sinful and you should never do it, right? Don't talk about it, don't do it. It doesn't exist, right? We kind of come across with those two vibes, especially in the church, because sometimes we don't want to talk about something that's none of our business. And we don't want to make people feel uncomfortable. So that's why sometimes we feel this way. But here's the two things that I want you to know, okay? God created it, which I alluded to earlier. God created everything, right? So that includes sex. And second thing is that God made it a good thing. So while the conversation often steers towards the let's not talk about this is uncomfortable, or it's bad and sinful, never do it or you're going to hell, right? There's those two extremes when it comes to this. There's actually a balance, and it starts with knowing that God created it, and He created it as a good thing. So we're going to talk through kind of what that looks like and how it's actually designed for us to experience. Because we truly believe that if we get this part of our lives right, then it will help. It will help us out so much in our relationships currently, in our emotions, in the way that we handle stress, and the way that we're able to connect to our spouse someday in the future. And fortunately, the Bible actually does have lots to say on the topic of sex. And so we're going to start just in the very beginning, the way it was designed to be at the beginning. So we're going to go to Genesis chapter 1, starting in verse 27. It says this: "So God created human beings in his own image. In the image of God, he created them. Male and female, he created them." Now, most of you, we've heard this verse. In fact, we preached on this verse just a few months ago. And it was in terms of, how our perspective is supposed to be as individuals. We're created in God's image. All this is great. We've heard this before. And then the next verse is the very first command we find in the Bible. You ready? "Then God blessed them and said, 'Be fruitful and multiply.'" Some translations say, "Be fruitful and multiply all over the earth," right? And you know what he's talking about, right? The multiplication thing. He's talking about sex. He's talking about sex. This was the first command. So God created it, and it was a good thing. He said, "Be fruitful and multiply." God created people and then told them to have sex. Isn't that great? Isn't that nice? That is fantastic. Thank you, God, for this gift of sex. But let's keep reading, because in the second chapter, he says something else that we often kind of skip over and don't really look at closely. But he says in chapter 2, verse 25, "Adam and his wife were both naked, and they felt no shame." Now, this is cool because, first off, after God created them to have sex, and he created them and told them to multiply on the earth, it wasn't just like a thing that was awkward and uncomfortable and bad and that we don't talk about it or whatever. It was this is what it is, and there's no shame. There's no, self-destructive body images, no lies going around in their head, nothing that made them feel ashamed of themselves. It was just how God intended, and it was good. But a lot happened between that chapter and today. And many of you know the story if you've grown up in church, but there was this tree with some fruit on it that God said, "Don't eat." And what did they do? What did they do? For those of you that know, they ate the fruit, right? They ate the fruit. We often see it depicted as apples in our kids' Bibles. I read one to Zeke, and it's got an apple that they're holding, and who knows if it was an apple? Maybe it was, but they take this fruit, they eat it, and the text says that their eyes were opened and they realized their shame. It was at this point that the text says their eyes were opened, they realized that they were naked, and they were ashamed. In other words, they didn't know life any different than no shame until they disobeyed. Until sin entered the world, and then they were able to see and feel this isn't right. And it's then they start covering themselves up. In fact, the first animal had to die, because then God had to kill the first animal to make clothes for them and cover themselves, because the fig leaves weren't holding up after that. And so it's kind of a lot like fire, right? How many of you have a fireplace in your house? Or you have a friend who's got a fireplace, or you've seen a fireplace before, right? Fire's good, right? Have you guys seen Castaway? It's "I have made fire," and he's cheering around and waving the fire. Anyway, it's a good movie. But fire is great. I grew up in Joplin, Missouri, which meant that temperatures were similar to here, except instead of the snow, most of the time it was ice first. So the power lines would freeze over, branches would freeze and drop. It was like a minefield going outside, because you didn't know which tree was going to fall on you. And then it would snow and kind of cover it up. But what would happen is during these ice storms, we would lose power. And so fireplaces were super helpful to have, because they illuminated the house when all the lights were out at night, and it warmed the place up, And you can make s'mores over fires. We didn't do that when the power was out, but you guys have made s'mores before, and they are God's gift to mankind. So, fire is good for a lot of things, right? But what happens if that fire leaves a fireplace in your house? Burn down the house, right? It's not good, right? So when fire is where it's supposed to be, in this designated area in the fireplace, it brings lots of good things, warmth, light, s'mores. It brings like the ability to cook things over the fire. Fire is good when it has its place. But when we take that fire and it's put in other places, it causes a lot of damage. It can hurt things. It can, it's just not good. And here's the reality. When we take God's plan for sex, in our lives, we take that outside of the fireplace, and we take that into places that it wasn't designated to be, then we start burning fires. We start burning down relationships. We start hurting our emotions. We start, and there's lots of different factors that go into that. And it can result in outcomes that you totally didn't imagine or intend. Right? We can enter into relationships. We can enter the friendships. Many of you've had, you've seen friends whose parents have gotten divorced. You've seen bad things happen. You've seen where families are torn apart because the fire got out of the fireplace. And it's tough. It's difficult. It doesn't mean all hope is lost, but it does mean that you've got some obstacles now to overcome in your relationships that you wouldn't have had otherwise. See, those consequences, those outcomes, they can hurt us physically, like with transmitted infections and diseases. They can hurt us physically in that way. They can also hurt us emotionally, make us feel that our worth is attached to sex or what we have to offer or what we can do or its status in our school, but it hurts us emotionally. Maybe those outcomes can be that it hurts others. Sometimes we use it as a weapon. We know that the power that it brings us over other people, and then we use it. Sometimes we know what gets the likes on Instagram, and so we use a little bit more sex appeal to get there. And I know it, you know it, you've seen it. I'm not saying anything you don't already know, but sometimes when it's used in ways that it's not designed, it just causes damage. It changes the way people see you. It changes the way your friendships are. It changes the way your relationships are. And this is what I think God said, why God said this in the previous verse of Genesis chapter 2, verse 24. He said, this explains why a man leaves his father and mother and is joined to his wife. And the two are united into one. This is super powerful because this isn't, when it's talking about the two becoming one, it's not just talking about sex, but sex plays a role in this. And when the two become one, it means that they share everything together. You're joining yourself to another person in every way possible. You have no secrets with this person. You have no shame with this person. You and this person fully know each other, and you know each other more intimately than anybody else. That includes spiritually, that includes emotionally, and that includes physically. And when we are united into one, it more accurately not only reflects God's image, but it more accurately reflects the relationship that we're supposed to be having. There's power when two people join as one. And see, sex is good, and sex is powerful. And as I mentioned earlier, most of you, you've seen the good, you've seen the awesomeness that can happen. Some of you have brothers and sisters that you just love as a result of this be fruitful command, right? That's a little bit of sarcasm, right? Because I know that we don't always feel that way about our siblings. But the reality is that you've seen the good things with it, but it's powerful. And sometimes that good, that it's kind of like, you can jump in a car and that car can be really good or it can be really bad depending on how you use it. Sex is the same way. It's good, but it is very powerful. So some things I want you guys to do this week. In order to start navigating this topic, and as we go through the series over the next month, I want you to find someone that you can talk to about sex, right? And I get it, sometimes talking to parents is awkward about it, but sometimes parents are the perfect person to talk to about it. if you can kind of get past that initial awkwardness, as time goes on, Chelsea had a great relationship with her family growing up, and it's really cool. They have this dynamic where they were just able to talk openly, and it wasn't weird. They could talk about questions, they could talk through, just say how it is, and like, it was helpful because they had a realistic view of sex. And they were able to talk about God's plan for it. And there's that possibility, but if it's not your parents, you need to find somebody that is older, that is wiser, that you can actually talk to, and that can mentor you through what a healthy sexuality looks like. And secondly, I want you to be brave enough to start the talking. So it's like I said, it can be uncomfortable, it can be weird, but once you get past that, and it becomes like it's normal if this comes up, and it's not a huge deal because it's life. And like I said earlier, it's becoming a bigger part of your world. Then once you get past that initial part, you can be brave and start the conversation. It can really benefit you in a lot of ways in the way that you view not only your sexuality, but the way you view God as well. So this is huge, that we're able to actually talk about this and not lend this conversation to the enemy by being silent. And so, there we go. Week 1, we're all done. How you guys feel?
Yeah. Good.
Yeet. So we're done with week 1. So as you guys get ready to go to your small groups, I want you to think about this question. Who is one trusted person that I can talk to when it comes to this topic of sex? What's one trusted person? Don't let it be a friend, because that's too easy. And let's be honest, your friend's really not a whole lot more wise than you are, because they are the same age as you, have the same life experience. And so find somebody who's older. Who is a person that you can trust, that you can talk to when it comes to sex? Let me pray for you guys, and you'll be dismissed to your small groups. Hey, hope you enjoyed this video. If you liked it, give it a thumbs up, and make sure you're subscribed so you're notified when we upload future videos. Have a great day.